you're known for going against the banks, being very strong against corporate greed. Why are you supporting Hillary Clinton when Bernie Sanders seems a little stronger on that?
Well, because Hillary Clinton, and I agree, she has been very strong in that same thing. When the Republicans and one Democrat threatened something that would have undermined the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, she wrote to every Democratic member of the House and Senate and said, don't vote for that. She represented New York, so she had constituents who were there. But not only was she fully supportive of financial reform when she was there, since then she's been spoken out strongly against efforts to weaken it, and she has a set of proposals that go forward that I think are better than Bernie's. His are tougher in one way, but you can be too tough. He would dismantle every institution. I think some of them are better than others. I don't believe in one size fits all. What we did was to put into the bill power for the regulators to make this institution, that institution get better, and I think she will use them well. But certainly there's been, if you ask, her position on on financial reform has been pretty close to mine.
Could you understand why the average American is concerned about Secretary Clinton's track record? She's gotten a lot of big donations from banks.
No, I get big donations from banks. I don't believe that people on the left should engage in unilateral disarmament. Is it really your goal to have us all lose? Because I wish they weren't giving banks. But here's my concern with that viewpoint. Judged by the results, what impact have those donations have that people can point to? But not only did I take a lot of donations from financial institutions, I was chairman of the committee where I was passing the Volcker Rule and Consumer Bureau, but I try to get them to give to other Democrats. I think do you think it would really be better for liberals, regulators, if all the money from the banks went to Republicans as opposed to just 80%? Because we could accomplish that. We could refuse to accept any. And I again have to tell you, I've accepted money from financial institutions. Some of them gave me once, didn't give me again. Obama, by the way, in 2008, no Democrat ever got as much as he did for the financial institutions. They gave him once, then they stopped giving.
Well, it's not to say you're a boogeyman if you accept from the banks. What we're getting at is if she's accepting huge donations over her career, doesn't that show a pattern when she's in office that she's going to be willing?
No, because she was in office, and tell me what she did when she was in office. She was a senator for 8 years. What did she do during those 8 years that you think was wrong?
It was an era of deregulation. They wanted her to.
No, I'm sorry, but you got to listen to me. The era of deregulation came before that, actually, when her husband was in power. She was never 100% or even 50% her husband. If you go back, the narrative correctly was she was sort of to the left of her husband on a lot of issues. But during her time in the Senate, she did nothing wrong, and since then, she's been a strong supporter of regulation.
Did you work with her on any financial legislation? I mean, in the House, certainly in that period, there were some efforts to rein in Freddie and Fannie through the banking committee. Was there any effort to reach out to her to get some Senate interest?
No, because
Brad Miller, I think.
Well, Brad Miller, we had a bill that the Republicans stopped. Chris Dodd says they tried, but the Republicans in the Senate shut them down. I don't know what specifically they did. We never got to the point where we could legislate because until 2007, well, when we took over in 2007, the Democrats, then we did begin to do the regulation, and she was fully supportive of Senator Dodd's effort. You can talk to him about the specifics, so he's not taking a side. But when we were not getting anywhere until 2007. But in 2007, to be honest, I didn't work with any senator. I had my hands full working with my House members. And the way things work, I worked with the Senate through Senator Dodd. But I will tell you this, that Dodd and I would talk, and he would worry about this or that one. There was never the slightest indication that Senator Clinton was in any way weak in her support.
So she wasn't going to stand up to the banks. Like, she wasn't going to introduce a bill. She wasn't going to co-sponsor bills.
She may have. You don't know that, of course.
I do, actually.
What? That she didn't? What bill did she?
I can give you a list. I'm happy to talk to you later about.
All right, no, I'll talk to you right now.
But I can give you a long.
The fact is that she was fully supportive, starting in 2007, of financial reform.
That's after the crisis and.
No. I'm sorry, you're wrong. Before the crisis was 2008.
Well, you live in Baltimore. The crisis certainly started a little sooner than that.
Yeah, but she didn't live in Baltimore. Now you're being a little weaselly on that. The fact is that the crisis
if you live in a poor area.
then the crisis began before 2007. There was always a crisis. So you're going to tell me it was great in 1995? But the fact is that from the time the Democrats took over and we were able to begin seriously legislating, she was wholly supportive. What's your
No, I'd love to
contradiction
talk
in
to you more about
Well,
it.
what's your contradiction in that?
Is that she wasn't on bills. I mean, there were plenty of reform bills before 2007. She could have put her name on them, and she didn't. I mean, you know, and the banks didn't want her to.
No, but a lot of members didn't. And the fact is that none of them were going anywhere. But once we were able to start doing it, she was very supportive. From 2007 on, she was never one of those who in any way was weak on the financial reform bill. She just spoke out strongly on the Consumer Protection Bureau. So, but is she the only one? I mean, I guess you might. There were a lot of senators who were on the bill.
Chuck Hagel is somebody who had a bill, and there were people who were looking at these issues in the Senate in that period. In which you know this better than I do.
Yeah, and I know that this was not one of the areas that she specialized in. She wasn't on the committee, and in fact, and frankly, a lot of people figured, what's the point when we're in the minority? But once we came into the majority, she was fully supportive.
Is that a fighter's attitude? What's
Yeah,
the point when you're in
yes,
the
the fighter's attitude is fight where you can make a difference. I don't know why you're giggling, because that doesn't seem to be very thoughtful. The fact is, you fight when you can make a difference. There were things that I didn't spend a lot of time on when I knew they were hopeless, but as soon as we had a chance, we began to work on them.
Congressman Frank, if you were in Congress now, what would you say about Donald Trump and what he's saying?
Well, I'd say the same thing, that it's outrageous from the moral standpoint, stupid intellectually, and damaging to the country.
But there's a whole lot of people that are supporting him.
You know, a lot of people, I never understood, what do you think that means to say that a whole lot of people? There are a whole lot of people who think Elvis is alive. There are a whole lot of people who...
But Elvis can't vote. These people can. So why are they supporting him?
Oh, that's a different question. No, here's my problem. You said, what would I say? I told you what I would say, and then you tell me some people support him as if that's a contradiction. I understand there are people with whom I disagree, of course. And what I by the way, I don't believe there's any remote chance of him being elected president. And what I say to those people when I talk about it is the point that of all people Jeb Bush made best in the debate, namely that it is totally counterproductive to the effort to fight the Islamic State, that alienating Sunni Muslims is not very sensible and not in our interest.
And do you trust Secretary Clinton, given her record, not to send ground troops in? Which is
yes. Yeah, I do. She's made it very clear that she wants. Look, I mean, there are pressures. You know, President Obama said he wasn't going to and gave in a little bit. But I think there is a national strong majority against doing that. Even the Republicans who would like to send in ground troops are afraid to vote that way.
And would you be open to accepting a position in her presidency?
No, I'm too old.
Too old? I think you're looking good.